Hello, Disobey. So let's reveal this. So this is just what is it about. And me, a couple of boring details. I've been doing Disobey talking quite a bit, so maybe you know me already. I'm a consultant at F-Secure. I've done this hacking stuff for quite a while. If you want to contact me, there's an email address. That's my private email address. And I also have a website with some older vulnerabilities, but yeah, this is the boring stuff, so let's proceed. So SCP, where does it come from? So basically, SCP is from year 1982. It's old. It's really, really old. So what is it? Over 30 years? So, okay. So basically what it originates from is error commands which are normally, or were used like in the early days to perform remote activities on a second computer. And I would think that the idea originally was to like have the next computer next to you in the same local network or something like that and execute commands on that, or copy files between computers. 82, if you think about it, that's several years before even the Morris War. So was security even considered back then? I don't think so. Probably they didn't think about security at all at that point. It was 6 years before the Morris Swarm happened. So I don't know. I'm not trying to blame anyone, but these things weren't a consideration back then. Also, from RCP, the original thing, we inherit certain things, say that RCP and SCP will overwrite any files that are in the target directory without any questions. They just get overwritten, and that's it. There's no option to ignore it, or there's no option to actually like ask the user if they want to overwrite anything. Also, the RCP is weird in a way that there's a trust on the server for certain things. So if you copy .txt files, the server will do the globbing as to see what the files actually are, and then we'll just push them to the client. And it gets interesting if we do this. So if there's a hacker in the middle, the hacker can actually say, add something there. Say, now we also include evil.exe and also include that to the result. And you actually copy files from the server that you didn't even ask for. Whoa, that's interesting. Now, SCP from 1995, that's what usually SSH creation date is mentioned, but they actually utilized older code, and they utilized RCP to actually create a secure copy. But they actually didn't really look at it really carefully. They inherited all the problems that were in it. Well, they added secure authentication and communication, but as long as the user is really careful. If you are not, you get into trouble. Because we know this problem probably. So, yes, no, how can I tell? Well, there's a fingerprint, but okay, raise hands who has never ignored this or actually checked only, say, 4 first letters or a couple of last letters and just said yes. Because I'm ready to admit that I have sometimes ignored these, like the check-in part, and just accepted the host key. But I've never done this. But I've seen these options being used on automated scripts that copy files between servers, for instance. This is really useful because then you don't have this like pesky problem of actually configuring the host and let them know about each other. Everything just works automatically because you're not doing any host checking. So I guess the smarter ones might be knowing where we are getting here, but let's see. So the first vulnerability. So indeed, the server is responsible for actually selecting what files are being returned. So if you ask for mydocument.txt, you could get everything else or whatever the server decides. So the names are not validated except for path traversal. So there was a problem where you could actually overwrite anything on the target system, but now you have to be on the target directory, so you can't escape it. But other than that, anything goes. So can you think what kind of problems could arise from this? If you replace those files, certain nasty things could happen. Second, you can modify the client output from the server. So this means that if you're doing something, adding extra files, we can actually just hide them. You don't see anything. So you do the copy, but nope, I didn't see anything going on. I just got exactly the file I asked for, and that's it. So, okay, what could possibly go wrong here? What could we do? So, okay, let's be in the man-in-the-middle position, and let's wait for the victim. Then man in the middle. So there will be, if it's a new host, there will be question about, okay, do you accept this fingerprint? Let's assume that the user is stupid. And then we overwrite certain files and hide the fact from the user. The user is none the wiser. Let's see. So here we have, we have up-to-date Ubuntu, and the user is going to copy some files from wares.com, documents folder. This is perfectly normal, and I always copy files from wares. So, oh, looks good. It looks exactly what I expected it to be. Yes. Okay, good. Now I need to enter my password. Let's see if I managed to actually type it correctly. Yes. So, hello.txt was copied from the docs folder, and that's it. If we look at it, that's exactly what we got. Good. So, let's see if the user is now doing something like, okay, I need to launch a new terminal. Oops. So basically, I have code execution on the victim computer now. And that was the only thing that I did. I just copied files. Now, okay. So popping calculator as usual. So let's see. But there's a hacker here. This is actually Kali Linux. Yes. So yes, we also have direct SSH access to the victim computer. So game over, man. Now, what happened here? So maybe we should actually see what actually happened. I'll first, let's see. Let me show you what actually happens. I have a clear script that I can demonstrate things again. So let's hide the standard error output. And now you should see that there's actually some extra files being dropped. So this is actually what happens. And now if we look at the files, so this is actually what is going to be executed when you start a new shell, bash in this case. And this is the actual key of the hacker being added for the current users' authorized keys. Now, All good and nice. So that was the actual means of actually exploiting it. But since I wanted to show a fix as well, let's do a fixed version of the command and see if we can actually have some kind of control on it. Let's try it again. Let's try see what happens now. Oh, now it says that unexpected file name. So there is a fix available, but let's come back to that in a moment. Oops. Oh, OK, good. So how could you actually exploit this in like real world? Obviously, the user has to make a mistake. I mean, this isn't something that's completely automated. You still need to accept the bad host key. Still, yet, if you go Google for the error message that you get when you actually have a host key that has actually been changed, you actually get instructions to how to actually remove the offending key from the known hosts file. So what they're saying is that, OK, you should ignore this warning and just remove the key and then accept it, and then it will work. Because, of course, I want to copy my files. So you just obviously remove the warning, and then it's OK. And that's actually the instructions from several large companies. Their help pages actually tell user to, yeah, just remove the offending key and try again, and it'll be OK. So how you get the victims to fall into this trap? So you could just use bit squatting, which means that you figure out certain large servers that are being used to copy files from with SCP or being used with SSH. Then you take the host name and just bit flip certain characters in the name and then register those domains and then spoof hosts that are almost the same, but technically you need to have an error in the certain server, so you end up to the bit squatted server. And then you just hope that the user is stupid enough to actually not care about the different host ID, and they just do something. And in this case, you cannot do man in the middle, so you just have to say spoof an error message, saying that, OK, error occurred, and then you have actually pwned the host as well. The second one, tuple squatting. Well, that's almost the same, except that then users themselves actually typos the name. There's a missing character or some other mistake. Or even could be that you register all, there's a .com domain, and then you register .net, .org, and whatever. And then just hope that users actually end up into the wrong host and accept the key and then again get pwned. Again, you cannot really know where the attacker is actually trying to reach, but it doesn't matter. You just show an error message, and then the user is pwned again. DNS spoofing requires some activity, so you need to actually target certain servers and try to get the wrong IP addresses to the DNS server, which is also getting a lot harder these days because of DNSSEC and stuff like that. It used to be much easier to actually do DNS spoofing, but if you can do that, you can possibly target quite large audiences also to get them to connect to the wrong server. Then man in the middle, so you actively actually try to target certain users. This could happen, for instance, in a way that you first find out that, OK, these guys are using SCP a lot, and then you find out, OK, this is the server that they are using. Then you know the users probably. You try to find out who are the probably users of this server. Then you somehow, I'm not going to try to speculate how it happens, but you somehow manage to get the man in the middle position, and you create the attack, enable it, and then say send a phishing message to the users. So you need to install this upgrade, or you need to do certain thing, so you get them to connect to the server, and then you get to attack their actual hosts. It could be interesting, say, developers, or maybe some users that actually manage a lot of servers. If you could gain control to their account on their SSH keys, for instance, it would be really juicy, probably. But that's always targeted, active attack. So it requires a lot of planning and lots of infrastructure, and you can also get caught, but yeah. So where the problem is, OpenSSH has both of these vulnerabilities, and unfortunately, there's no official fix as of now. But if you are careful, if you always verify your host keys, then the only way this could be exploited is that, well, someone has actually pwned the server already. Well, there's little you can do then. PuTTY has only the second vulnerability, which means that it's really not a problem. You can always spoof the names, and that's not really bad. WinSCP had the same vulnerability, but you specifically had to select SCP for the transfer mode. By default, it's SFTP, which is safe. But anyway, WinSCP was fixed already, so that's good as well. Well, mitigation for OpenSSH. Well, always verify the host keys. This should go without saying, actually, but anyway. If possible, try to get away from SCP and just use SFTP, which doesn't have these problems. But yeah, you still need to check the host key, obviously. But if for some reason you must use SCP, there is a patch which is completely unofficial. I made it. It's available. And also, I also released the adversary online on my webpage, so you can actually find the links there, so that you needn't actually take pictures or anything. So basically, you have a patch that actually does fix this problem, but not in every case. But most of the time, this actually is fairly good. And it will do the thing that you actually saw, so it will actually check the files that are coming back, and will reject the connection if something weird is coming back. And obviously, WinSCP, well, upgrade to the latest version, 5.14 or later. Now, this thing was found in August last year. And I reported it pretty much quite soon. Only proper reaction was from WinSCP. And by the way, that's a single guy, one guy doing the whole thing, I think. Or maybe there's actually a team of open source developers. But basically, the project is run by a single guy, as far as I understand. And he was really fast to actually fix it. That was like, I was really impressed. Like, OK, cool. That's really nice. But then, unfortunately, I don't know what, I mean, OK, granted, you need to have user doing something stupid in here. But still, I mean, overriding files that you didn't ask for is kind of like unwanted functionality. So I would still say that, yes, it's kind of like a user error, but it's still something that it shouldn't do. So in my opinion, somehow, OpenSSH guys, OpenBSD guys actually who are doing it, I don't know what happened, why there is no fix for the serious vulnerabilities. There is fix for one other thing, which is already committed to get, that I know of, but that was just a minor issue, really, in my opinion. But 1 out of 4 vulnerabilities has been fixed. All the details are in the adversary text, so if you want to see all the gritty details. So now, let's see one final thing. So basically, I can alter the output of SCP. So I had some fun idea. Maybe I should do something funny with it. So now I'm copying video files from the server. And instead of actually getting a copy of the video file, you get this. This is it, pretty much. Does anyone have questions, maybe?
Thanks for the great presentation. Out of curiosity, have you checked Amazon tools? The AWS tools are their own implementation, of course, but they kind of tend to copy the same ideas.
Sorry, actually, I have some trouble hearing.
Have you tried Amazon command line tools? So they have their own version of SCP.
Oh, actually, I haven't. That's really great thing to actually look into that. So please do, or maybe I'll do it later time. But really good point, actually. Thank you. More questions?
I think that OpenSSH developers actually know about this because it's very, very old protocol. It's from the 70s. So that's why they don't react. So I think the proper solution would be just to remove SCP from everywhere, and I think I'll do it in my servers now.
Yes, I agree that it would fix the problem. The problem with that would be that it would break the world, basically, because it's used in scripts and in tons of places. Probably it would be a good idea to actually remove it completely. Or, as some idea has been that you would actually make SCP use SFTP internally and emulate all the functionality of SCP that way, then it would be safe against this attack at least. And I think SSH company incorporated, their SCP is actually using SFTP internally, so they are not affected by this. And that, I think, was really smart move from them. So they actually provide SCP, but it doesn't have this old problem. The easiest solution, of course, would be to remove it completely, but I don't think that that's really realistic. Maybe make it like on a first use, maybe make it so a huge warning to users. Are you really going to use this application that have problems? Yes, and then it would be your fault if you fuck up. But yeah, good point. They probably are aware of this problem, as you said. Unfortunately, the greater public might not be, and that is always a problem. So really smart guys, lots of you are smart people, you probably knew about this. So you might have had some idea, okay, this is not a good idea to use this tool. But there is a huge crowd there that doesn't know about this. And hopefully now they know, or will know about it, and know to act properly, or maybe even remove SCP completely and switch to SFTP. More questions?
I'm there giving, and I would say, have a comment. The reason why SSH communication security moved away from the SCP protocol was exactly because the file parsing of the SCP or RCP protocol is so bad. It wasn't only this issue; it was also, because the wildcards and all of these are actually expanded by the cell, which actually causes all kind of other problems. And that's why the SFTP there, or SCP is actually alias to SFTP. It's actually the same binary. And it actually takes the same command line arguments. The problem with the OpenSSH SFTP is that it doesn't take the same command arguments.
Yeah, okay, there's small differences, obviously, but yeah, so there are issues, and obviously doing something on the server and then switching it around, it will make it incompatible in certain situations anyway. So I would say that trying to fix SCP is going to be like an uphill battle. You will never get it like completely safe in a sense that you are trusting execution on the server and such things. So no, at some point it's going to have to go away completely. But yeah, good point that there are other things as well that affected the reason for SFTP for sure. Thank you. Good points. Any more? So I suppose I'll just thank you. It has been a pleasure.